Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Team, are we ready? Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome again to another in our series, Stimulus, Science in Action. You have been joining us for the last 2 weeks. We have been to the Natural Products Institute. We have been to the Canadian Light Source. Last week, we had a robust discussion with young people all over the Caribbean. So once again, I welcome you on behalf of the Faculty of Science and Technology here at the UWI Mona. This is your place to shine. This afternoon, it is my pleasure to introduce to you two outstanding young women in science. And this afternoon, they are Miss Nicalia Prendergast, who is a second-year student majoring in geosciences at the University of the West Indies. Nicalia is currently the Geography and Geology Department representative of the FST Guild. She's also a member of the UWI Geographical Society, and she intends to venture in the field of petroleum geology in the hopes of being a petroleum geologist. We are also joined by Nadria Robinson. Nadria and Nicalia, can I have your cameras open, please, so that the audience can see you? Nicalia is joined by Nadria Robinson, and Nadria is currently the head of the student body. She's the head girl of the Bishop Gibson High School for Girls. She's vice captain of Bishop Gibson's School Challenge quiz team. Actually, she was vice captain in 2019-2020, and she's an artist who is also an aspiring chemical engineer. Now, young people, if you are listening and you would like to be a part of this hosting of our Stimulus series, when we have the next stage in, feel free to reach out. We have a survey that's running at the end, and on that survey, you can indicate if you are interested. All you need to have to qualify for this is a passion for science and the desire to communicate the impact of science to society, okay? So I'm looking forward to having and working with more of you. So for me, all I have left to do is to hand over to the team of Nicalia and Nadria.
Thank you, Dr. Singh Wilmot, for that lovely introduction on behalf of myself and my co-host, Nadria Robinson. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the third and final Stimulus Science in Action series for the month of August. This series is presented by the Faculty of Science and Technology of the University of the West Indies in association with the Natural History Museum of Jamaica. I mean, how convenient is this? We recently had seismic activity in our region. So, you know, that was a big thing for us. Can anybody comment and tell me what I might be talking about? Anyone? See, we're a little shy today.
Oh, we have a hand from Tariq.
Tariq, go ahead. Diamond League, no, not at all. Yes. So a magnitude 7.2 earthquake struck Haiti on August 14 at 8:29 a.m. And a lot of people were talking like, why is Haiti always struck by such catastrophic earthquakes? Well, Haiti is located on a fault line between the North American plate and the Caribbean plate. So the Enriqueo Plantain Garden fault system caused the most recent earthquake, and also the 2010 earthquake of magnitude 7 that happened back then. And the most recent one was as a result of oblique thrust faulting. So let's look at some of the effects of the earthquake. So we had a lot of landslides, people were displaced, and I checked and there were 2,200 casualties as a result of this earthquake. So, it brings us to ask, what is the importance of monitoring seismic activity in Jamaica and also in our region at large, since the topic for our presentation today is monitoring seismic activity in Jamaica. So some of the importances include to study hazard, frequency, and the magnitude of earthquakes, vulnerability of structures, and also risk management. All right, so the presentation that we'll be having today is by the Earthquake Unit. So this unit is a research unit of my beloved department, the Department of Geography and Geology in the Faculty of Science and Technology at the Mona campus. It is funded by the Government of Jamaica through the Ministry of Science, Technology, and Mining. The Earthquake Unit seeks to understand earthquake processes in and around Jamaica, to advise the society about earthquake hazard, to thereby encourage community awareness, and the application of mitigative strategies to development. This is done by operating the Jamaica Seismograph network and other regional networks. So now that we have a little background information on earthquakes, I will now invite my co-host Nadia to present our panel of distinguished STEM professionals. But first, let me tell you about the rule of the game. So ensure that your mics are muted. Please note all your questions, as there will be a question and answer segment at the end. During this Q&A segment, you will be allowed to turn on your camera once you're dressed appropriately, and also your microphone to ask questions. However, please raise your hand and wait to be acknowledged. And there will also be prize giveaways at the end. So over to you, Nadia.
Did we lose Nadia? Let's see.
Her microphone is muted.
Unmute her mic.
Oh, there you go. Nadria's up, everybody. Over to you, Nadria.
Thank you, and thank you again, Nikki.
Okay, everybody, let's just be patient. Remember, Nadria is a student of Bishop Gibson's High School for Girls. And so she's the younger of the two women in STEM that you're seeing out front. So we've got to give her a little bit of a chance. And Nadria, are you there?
Yes, Miss, I'm here. Are you hearing me?
We are hearing you now, my dear. Go right ahead.
So I've
We lost you again. And remember, we're having some bad weather. Nadria?
Is everyone hearing me?
You are back, my dear. You are back. Go right ahead. Nadria, you're muted again. Please unmute and go ahead. Okay. All right, so I think we're going to cause some technical difficulties here, Nadria. I am standing by to give the introductions for the team from the earthquake unit. If you are there, please let me know. We are going to be patient. Remember, I told you she is over there and the weather is bad. I think it's raining heavily there. All right, so Nadria, it could be that we can't transmit the video and the sound at the same time. Okay, so in the interest of time then, Chair, let me know if I have your permission to go ahead and introduce the team. And Nadria will join us later on. Let me know, Chair.
Can everyone hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, I'm just going to go right ahead. I've noticed that there are three types of persons during an earthquake. So the first type of person, they're well prepared. So they know exactly what's happening and they take cover under a table, stay indoors, and they stay away from furniture that can possibly fall on them. Now, the second type of person during an earthquake is called the death sleeper, and it speaks for itself. So they sleep out the entire time span of the earthquake and they literally don't know what's going on. The third type of person during an earthquake is the one who immediately checks their phone and WhatsApp statuses to see if they're the only one that felt it. Now, you can decide which type of person are you. No, the team at the earthquake units are definitely the well-prepared persons during the arrival of an earthquake based on their qualifications and experience. Now, allow me to introduce the remarkable and superlative team at the earthquake unit. Now, this team is a multidisciplinary team of STEM professionals who are in charge of monitoring, detecting, analyzing, and solving earthquakes in Jamaica. Now we have Professor Simon Mitchell, who is a professor of sedimentary geology and acting head of the earthquake unit. Mr. Mitchell has a Bachelor of Science in Geology from the University of Hull and a Doctor of Philosophy, PhD, in Geology from the University of Liverpool. Ms. Colleen Black is the Education and Information Officer at the unit, and she holds a Bachelor of Science in Geology from the Faculty of Science and Technology at the University of West Indies and a Master's in Disaster Management from groups in Japan. Mr. Paul Williams is the Earthquake Unit's Network Engineer. Mr. Williams studied at both the University of Technology, where he earned his Bachelor of Engineering, and the University of the West Indies, where he did his Master of Science in Digital Communications in the Faculty of Science and Technology. Mr. Raymond Stewart is the Seismic Analysis at the unit. Now, Mr. Stewart has a Bachelor of Science in Geology from the Faculty of Science and Technology at University of West Indies. In summation, we have Mr. Ken Tankoon, who is a geologist who holds a Bachelor of Science in Geology from the Faculty of Science and Technology at UWI. Now we have some background information on the team, and I will now gracefully hand over to the team at the earthquake unit.
Hi, good afternoon. Is everyone hearing me?
Loud and clear, Kevin.
Okay, thank you very much, Doc. Thank you guys for inviting us to this stimulus series. Today, our team at the Earthquake Unit would like to give you guys an insight into some of our operations, and this represents just a segment of what we actually do, some of our roles and responsibilities as it relates to monitoring earthquakes. So today we intend to cover a couple of topics which would give you guys a bit of background on the earthquake unit history, as well as why the work that we do is important and why it's relevant. And then we will touch a bit on how do we collect this data, how do we detect earthquakes, and then we'll have our seismic analysts show you guys how we actually process an actual earthquake. The recent earthquake in Haiti on the 14th of August, we measured at magnitude 7.3. This again was a stark reminder of the importance of understanding tectonics within our region, as well as studying earthquakes in Jamaica. So today we'll cover as well we'll try to do a bit of a hybrid talk where we'll give you guys a bit of background, and we'll try to give you guys some live video, some live interactive solution, and then we'll take some questions and have a discussion with you guys to answer any questions, provide any information that you guys would like. So now, just a minor correction before we continue. Professor Mitchell was the previous acting head of the earthquake unit. Our current head of unit is Dr. Donovan Campbell, who is the head of the Department of Geography and Geology, and he also heads up the unit at this moment. So just to make that, I know you guys might have seen on the old website this information here. So now I would like to hand over to Colleen Black, to Miss Colleen Black. She's our scientific officer slash educational officer, and quite eloquent, and she'll now take us or introduce us to a bit of the earthquake unit history. So over to you now, Colleen.
Hey. Hi, everyone. It's good to have you all here. As Kevin said, I'm Colleen, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how we actually came to have a Jamaica Seismograph network and, of course, the earthquake unit. Next slide, please. So as Nikelia would have mentioned, we are a part of the university and are funded by the Ministry of Transport and Mining and Energy, as well as a number of other portfolios in the ministry. Next slide. So a bit of background about how we actually started. As you know, Jamaicans are very curious people, and way back in the 19th century, so that would have been the late 1800s, the Jamaica Weather Service at the time was interested in earthquakes because we are always having earthquakes here in Jamaica. And so they would have installed a seismograph to detect the earthquakes. Shortly thereafter, the Jesuits, which would have been early 1900s, also established seismograph stations on the island. However, when we had our 1907 earthquake, the recordings were not sufficiently adequate because neither parties were really professional seismologists who had a good scientific setup to actually detect and solve earthquakes. So we don't really have any proper records for the 1907 earthquake. So all the magnitudes that you would hear for this earthquake are all estimates based on what intensity people would have felt. In the 1960s, very early 60s, the Geological Survey Division, at Hope Gardens installed a seismograph, and they attempted to get it done, but due to certain difficulties, it was eventually moved to the University of the West Indies Mona campus in 1963. Subsequent to that, we were able to have more than just one instrument, and this occurred around the 1970s. And with having at least 3 instruments, we could then triangulate the readings from each instrument to get location for the earthquake. So it wasn't until the 70s that we were able to determine earthquake epicenter and depth of the earthquake, or even the magnitude. Next slide. So just to say that Earthquakes have always been happening in Jamaica. They were happening when the Spaniards came with Christopher Columbus, and they were happening when the British took over in 1655. So we do have a historical catalog of earthquakes dating back to about 1667. But of course, all of these would have been anecdotal. There have been recordings from personal diaries and so on. There was no instrumental or empirical recording of any earthquakes. The catalog of located earthquakes would have, of course, started in the 1970s when we finally had 3 or more seismographs so that we could actually triangulate and calculate magnitude and epicenter. Next slide. And so you might say, what exactly is an earthquake? Well, a simplified definition would be that it's the energy, the sudden release of energy along pre-existing faults. And when these faults rupture, they cause an earthquake. So faults are fractures in the Earth's crust. And although on the map, you might think of a fault as a line, when you have an earthquake, it's actually a 2-dimensional movement. So you're thinking of really a fault plane, because the magnitude of the earthquake depends on the surface area that was moved, not the length of the fault that was moved, but it's really the surface area. So you have to take the length and the depth as well as the width of the fault plane. Next slide. And so this is why we monitor earthquakes. Jamaica is an earthquake-prone country, and now we're going to look at the tectonic setting for Jamaica to see exactly what is happening and why we get earthquakes as often as we do. This slide is showing you a summary of the plate motion. So the blue or gray in the center, depending on how you see color, is the Caribbean plate. And the beige color or yellow would be North American plate at the top. And you can see a little bit of Cuba there and a bit of Mexico to your left. So North American plate has Cuba, Mexico, and of course, United States of America and Canada. And South American plate would have all your South American countries. So Caribbean plate is really squished between these 2 big plates. And that is why we're having earthquakes. As the Caribbean plate tries to move eastward, and you can see from the red arrow in the center, just below that, it's moving at about 2 centimeters per year towards the east. As it tries to move eastward, it has to squeeze through North American plate as well as South American plate in order to do that. And as it tries to pass these, because of friction, because on a fault plane, it's not as smooth as a piece of paper, it's jagged, you're dealing with rocks. And so there's a lot of friction, and it takes time and a lot of energy to overcome this friction to get movement. Okay, this is showing you some of what is going on in the Cayman Trough. At the top, you can see black smokers. So if you look at the picture just below to your left, there's an orange line with 2 white arrows moving away from each other. This is called the Mid-Cayman Spreading Center. And at this spreading center, you have magma coming up through the crust and forcing the crust apart, both eastward and westwards, to create new oceanic crust. And this is how we got the Cayman Trench. Now, as this crust Go back, please. Just one more point. As this crust is moving, it was interfering with the movement of North American plate and Caribbean plate. And so you will see that you have a new microplate called Gonav microplate. And it's the southern boundary of this microplate, the green line to your right, where you have the Enriquillo Plant and Garden Fault. So the Enriquillo Fault would be in Haiti, and the Plant and Garden Fault would be in St. Thomas, Jamaica. And it's along this fault in Haiti that you had the movement on the 14th of August. Next slide. Right, so this is just to show you that Jamaica itself is covered by many faults. So you have faults in the sea as well as on land. And so many of these faults are capable of moving, and when they move, we get earthquakes. And as you can see, there are red dots, which are the earthquakes, all across Jamaica, from east to west, north to south. It's covered in red dots. But if you look towards the east, just above Kingston, you will notice that there's a very thick cluster of red dots. And this is, in fact, the Blue Mountain area. So the Blue Mountains are under a lot of stress. So you're getting tectonic movement in the mountains, and so they generate a lot of earthquakes. Next slide. Okay, so this is where I'm going to end, and I will now turn over to Mr. Paul Williams to explain to you about how we go about getting the earthquake information.
That's up from mines.
Okay, what we are looking at here
I tried.
just a minute. Okay, then turn it off. Yes, we have stations across the island that we use to monitor seismic events. So this slide is showing the two top slides, two of our remote stations. Here we have Greenwich on your left here, where we have the green box, where we have the equipment, and the stations are powered by solar power. And we use radios to send the data from those remote locations to our central recording station. On the bottom slide, these are two pictures taken at the central recording station, where on the right we have a solar array. We power our station, or our central recording station, by solar power, so that we are able to have power even when there's a large earthquake. And on the left, we have communication equipment on top of the roof that receive the data from the outstation. Okay, this slide shows sensors that we use. And I'll play a pre-record. Okay, here we have on display some of the sensors we use at the earthquake unit to record earthquakes. We start off with the short period sensors. These are sensors that are designed for local earthquake within 500 kilometers. And the short period band is 1 Hertz to 100 Hertz, and these are 1 Hertz sensors. Now these are short period, and here we have three components. You have the vertical component and two horizontal, north-south and east-west. Now, these are passive sensors, meaning you don't need a power attached to get an output. So this is attached to an oscilloscope, and by slight movement will give you an output. Now, the seismic wave arriving at the station has a P wave and an S wave. Now, the P wave will be most pronounced on the vertical component, whereas the S wave would be most pronounced on the horizontal. So this will allow the analyst an easier time in identifying the S wave. Now, how these work, you have a mass suspended on the inside to which a coil is attached, and there's a magnet on the casing on the inside. So whenever there's an earthquake, the earthquake causes the case to move, and you have a relative movement taking place between the coil and the magnet, which produce a voltage which is proportional to the rate of change of movement. So this is termed a velocity sensor. So the output is really a velocity, which is proportional to the ground. Now we have from these, next we have our weak motion sensor or broadband sensor. This has a band of 100 Hz to 60 seconds, so it has a wider bandwidth. And these are ideal for recording local and regional earthquakes. On the inside, you have three components. You have your north, south, east, west, and your vertical on the inside, aligned in an orthogonal manner. And this is an analog sensor, so the output of this sensor goes to your digitizer. Now, this is a 24-bit digitizer, giving us about 155 dB, so we are able to record smaller and larger earthquake with this unit. It is a 6-channel device, so you have 3 channels allotted to the seismometer and another 3 channels allotted to your axillary graph. On the inside, you have a data logger where we're able to store the earthquake recorded, and we also have a communication module where we're able to send data or transmit the data. So we store data and simultaneously transmit the data. Now, the communication module allow a connection, an IP connection, where we have it connected to our computer here or our data radio. And as you see, any movement of the sensor will be recorded on the computer. This is the 3 channels for the weak motion sensor showing the movement taking place. We also have your timing GPS that provides time, because timing is very important to us locating the earthquakes. Okay, next we have our axillary graph, our accelerometer. Now these are strong motion unit that allow us to record the strong motion earthquake or the earthquake that we would feel. These would give us a good recording of those earthquakes. These are installed on structures such as high-rise building, bridges or dams, and they are also installed as free-field stations in town centers where we're able to get the intensity from them. This is another axillary graph where you have the accelerometer, the 3 components built in along with the digitizer and a complete all-in-one unit. Okay, this other slide is showing some of the remote stations. Here we have the sensors installed on a pier. In order to get a true reflection of the wave, we have to build a pier from bedrock coming up and couple it to the bedrock so that we get a true reflection of the seismic wave. We also use vaults where we dig a hole and build an enclosure, as is seen here in the second slide, where you have a vault, you have solar array with battery banks, and then you have a VSAT that sends the data. The top right shows the inside of a vault where you have sensors and communication equipment, and the lower right show an Axillary Graph station where we have a pad that is coupled to the ground and a light enclosure, which is a fiberglass, where we have the equipment installed. This slide shows a map of our network. The green triangle shows where we have the Seismograph station. As you see, we have it distributed right across the island from Negril to Portland, Castle Mountain. And the red dot shows where we have the strong motion Axillary Graph station. In order to get the data from those stations to UE, we have a communication link set up. So you have these arrows show the path of the radio link. So the data from Negril would go to Monroe, then from Monroe to Pike in Manchester, then to Coopersville, then to UE. So the data follow a precise path getting to our central recording station. This other slide shows a vault right here at UE. And this is an old vault. So inside we have the sensors and the digitizer with a radio. And it is isolated from around to ensure that there's no noise. And this is a GPS for the vault that provide timing. On top of the building, we have a communication tower with all the antennas that we use to receive the outstation. And on top, we have a lightning protector.
Welcome to the Earthquake Unit.
Oh, that is our new admin, Ms. Camille Wint, taking us the unit. So here we have some of the equipment we have, where we have our charge controller or discriminator. This is an old analog drum. And then we have the monitor showing the software that we use. And from here, I'll pass over to Mr. Raymond Stewart, who will take you into how we process the data.
Good evening all. So thank you, Paul, thank you. The picture that you're seeing on the screen is a little summary of all that Paul and Colleen would have said earlier. An earthquake, you would have an earthquake happening. The earthquake would happening at the fault. The earthquake would cause seismic waves to be radiated outwards in all directions. We would have seismic equipment that captures, detects that wave, and ultimately that data is sent to the earthquake unit, where it's actually stored on our servers. From there, we can actually work with it. We can grab waveforms. We can do further work. Next slide, please. Now, what you're seeing on this slide are actually three seismograms. Paul Williams would have told you a while ago, Mr. Williams would have told you, would have showed you that three component station. He would have showed you the vertical component and the two horizontal components. This is the result that you're seeing from such a setup. You'll see at the top where you see the P. Are you able to see it? Where you have the P, that is actually the primary wave, or the initial primary wave. The other one, which is below, actually shows the S waves, which are the secondary waves, or the waves that arrive sometime after. There are other waves, however, those are not too important right now to making a solution. So there could be surface waves further on along the trace, depending on where on the event. So it's important for me. I wanted you guys to actually see what an earthquake looks like. This is an earthquake. The seismogram is a single trace showing the earthquake event. Next, can you pass me over? So what I'll be doing next is to go into something more practical. I'll be sharing with you a screen that allows me to view earthquakes. I hope you guys are seeing the screen. Now, this software, or the software which allows us to do this, is actually a software known as Swarm. Interestingly enough, this is a software that you or anyone out there can actually download. You can actually hook yourself up to one of these big networks, and you can do the same thing that we're doing right here. However, for us, the software would actually include our local stations and some regional stations also. So this software, Swarm, allows us to view events that have occurred in the past. Remember, we have a 24-hour operation. We are always recording. And so this software allows us to view everything as it happens. So let me scroll up in time. So we are going back in time now. I'm not sure how much you can see, but I don't know. Here is an event. I'm going to scroll up a little bit more. Good. To the side, we're actually looking at the 24th of August. I'm going to do a little jump. More events. Now, I don't know if you guys were able to hear a sound a while ago.
Yes, we were.
Yes, okay. Now, this software also allows us, it actually alerts us when an earthquake is taking place, okay? And it's quite useful because I do have this software at home which is running constantly. And when an earthquake is happening, I am alerted and I can go ahead and work on it. All right, so I'm scrolling back in time. Here's an event. This is an earthquake. You're seeing some in red also, with a little red there. These are actually more earthquakes. They are actually aftershocks from the Haitian earthquake. And when you see it looking like this, it must be a very big aftershock. It could be maybe 5 or 4. And let's scroll up some more. And here. Now, at this point, this is actually the morning of August 14. This is about 7:30, 7:29. And what you realize is this huge area, this area showing these red lines. This is actually the Haitian earthquake, recorded earthquake. What's interesting that morning though, is if you look somewhere out here on the trace, further out to the left, there is actually another earthquake there too. This was actually an Alaskan earthquake, 6.8, that occurred the same morning. So this earthquake actually ran right into the Haitian earthquake, which was a few minutes down, few minutes further down, okay? That earthquake took at least 10 or 11, 12 minutes to arrive to this sensor, to this sensor recorder, which is Stony Hill. So what you're seeing here, you're seeing the Haitian earthquake. Everything, most of the stuff you're seeing below here in terms of waveforms are actually aftershocks. Let me close this so you can see some more. All of those going further down in time. Here's one, that's another aftershock. So another one here, more aftershock. All of those are aftershock. Let me move my screen over to a list of events, or to our list of events. The software that you saw a while ago, or I was showing you a while ago, was the software that we use to view our earthquakes that are on our server. Okay, allow us to view the earthquakes. Now I'm going to bring into another software. This one we call Seismic, and this one allows us to analyze. It allows us to work with the earthquakes that are on our server. Now, basically, this table that you're actually seeing represents all the earthquakes that occurred in the month of August. Okay, and at the bottom we are seeing the number 67. However, before this Haitian earthquake, we only had about 11 or 12 events. In total, our network has recorded at least 40 aftershocks from this Haitian earthquake. So everything below, or most of the events on this screen, most of these lines are actually aftershocks. Most of them are aftershocks. Further down here, we actually had a felt event somewhere near Manchester. But most of the events following the Haitian earthquake we're looking at here are actually aftershock. Let me move over. I'm going to share another screen. I'm going to be showing you the event itself and what the trace looks like. Okay. So on the face of it, this might be a little confusing. You're seeing many lines. Some of them are flat lines. Some of them are you see the scribbles on them. In other words, there's something there, but they really represent channels of data. Okay, in other words, earthquake streaming data. So I'm going to grab some of them that are relevant. We work together with stations, not only Jamaican stations, but we work with stations in Cuba, Hispaniola, right across the Caribbean, and those actually help us to enhance, help to enhance the solution. So here are some more stations. I'm not going to grab all of them. Bear in mind, though, the more stations you have, the more stations you have data you get, the more stations you are getting data from, the better your solution. Here's PCJ, for instance. This is a station down in Portland Cottage, Southern Clarendon. Got on some more. And of course, Stony Hill, which is one of our best stations. Let's look at them all together. So I've basically grouped the stations that I want. They're lined up, some of our better stations. I can look at them individually. So I'm looking at a trace, I'm looking at a seismogram. I can go ahead and pick, in other words, find out where the primary wave is located. Now, the earth has a natural hum. In other words, there's a natural vibration.
Can you admit?
There's a natural vibration. Now, as soon as an earthquake happens, then the earthquake literally moves out of that background noise, that background vibration that we're talking about. So at that point, that is where you're going to pick your first wave, P wave. We go through all the stations, we search for our S waves too. Remember, Mr. Williams would have shown you the setup where one of the components would actually be like a horizontal component, and we would use our horizontal component to get the S waves. Okay, that's where it's actually easiest. So we move some more. Okay. And you'll find that when you're solving an event or you're doing analyzing an earthquake, you might end up going over an event more than once, 3 times, 4 times sometimes. You could have situations where the station is not the best station, it's noisy, and therefore you have to add a filter to project or to bring the earthquake forward. You could have situations where the earthquake is far away and therefore it is not so pronounced. And so there are things you need to do. So it takes a certain amount of strategy to deal with, but it can be done. Okay, so I've basically showed you all the station. We would then move on to locating, running the program. Okay. Good. And we get a result. The result would contain, would be the location, the latitude and longitude. It would also have the magnitude of the event. All those things would be in the result. Now, solving an event would mean nothing if you didn't have it on a map, right? So let's show you a map. So the map you're seeing is the solution for the event. The solution that you have can vary from other networks depending on how many stations you have. It depends on how your stations are located around the event. The best kind of scenario is one where your stations surround the event in all 4 quadrants. That is when you actually have the best solution. So if you don't have that, then the solution might be a little off, right? With this information, we compile this. So imagine that one on the 14th was a felt event, and there will be the journalists, there will be the media, people would want that information. We would at that time compile a bulletin that we would send out to the media houses. And that is how we would handle a felt event. Of course, on a day-to-day, you would actually have many of these events. I mean, they're not large enough, they're not felt. And so you'd actually be archiving all of that data. Now, just a little addition there. On average, a few years ago when we didn't have such quality equipment, we would record about 50 or so near earthquake or earthquakes in the region of Haiti. Nowadays, we are recording a lot more. Clearly, you see where when the Haitian earthquake happened, we have recorded already 40 or near 40, 41, 42 earthquakes of aftershocks so far. And usually these tend to go on for a while. So it doesn't stop like that. And of course, many of these events that happen, we are still so far away that we are not able to record the very small ones. Okay, thank you very much for listening. And I hope this was informative. Kevin?
Thank you, Raymond. Can you hand back over to me, please?
Okay, let me stop sharing. Hold on. Good. I'm out.
Okay, great. All right, guys. This was basically what we wanted to introduce you all to. Again, this represents just a fraction of what the earthquake unit actually does. We are also involved with the Comprehensive Nuclear Test Ban Treaty Organization, where the earthquake unit we also we also help manage JASON, which is the Jamaican Educational Seismic Network, as well as a few UNAVCO GPS sites and some GPS campaign sites over across the island. So I hope that you would have learned or at least be informed a bit about what we do with respect to monitoring earthquakes. And this is just a fraction or a small cohort of the scientists involved locally in this field of study. And we play a very critical role within the national disaster management sort of infrastructure for the country. So now I would like to end here and hand back over to Nikelia and to Nadria, and we would be willing to take any sort of questions that you guys have. Thank you very much for your attention here. And when you're ready for the questions, we have the questions prepared, the 2 questions for the prizes prepared. Thank you again.
Thank you so much to the Earthquake Unit for that very insightful presentation. I hope everyone learned something because I sure did. I mean, the process is so intricate, you know. Everything has to be so accurate, and I just found that so interesting. I hope everybody enjoyed it. How we feeling? We're feeling excited. So, all right, so now we're going to have the question and answer segment. You know, this is the big time for the prize giveaways. All right, so Nadria, my lovely co-host. Oh, see, Tashika says she feels like she wants an internship over there. She wants an internship. And Tony Shea said that was very interesting. So I'm glad you guys enjoyed, especially Tashika, that she'd want to even get involved in the action. All right, so Nadja, come help me out a bit with the comments in the chat.
Unmute your microphone, Nadria. Okay, guys, I think Nadria is having very bad weather over there in Mandeville. So, Nikelia, would you like me to jump in and help you with what's going on in the chat?
Oh, I think I can manage.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's wonderful.
All right. All right, so we have Tashika saying that something so dangerous seems so cool to explain. I know it sounds really nice, but it can be very catastrophic. And here we have Abigail asking if the faults in the sea causes tsunamis. So if anybody would like to answer that.
Colleen here. Okay, who is that again, Nikelia?
Abigail is asking.
Okay, Abigail, you have faults in the sea, and yes, you do get earthquakes in the sea, but there has to be a displacement of the sea floor for you to get a tsunami. So the fault in the sea would have to be what we call a thrust fault. You know, you have to have some kind of vertical motion. So it could be a thrust fault or a normal fault. Does that solve it?
Abigail, could you indicate if that answers your question? She said yes. So thank you so much, Miss Colleen Black. All right, let's check back in the chat and see what's going on. So here we have Orion saying that the 24 bytes ADC, that it's big. And then we have Tony Shea asking, would you say the first earthquake that was recorded triggered the Haitian earthquake? Throwing that question out to our panelists. Anybody?
Paul, you want to deal with the AC question?
I could repeat the question, I didn't get it.
The person was saying that, was it 24? Seems a bit big.
24, okay, no, it's not big. The 24 is the number of bits. So we used to use 16. We moved from 12 for the old system, 16 to 24. So 24 give us 155 dB, which is normal for modern recording.
All right, thank you so much.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I'm just.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much for answering. So here we have Tony Shea asking if the first earthquake that was recorded, if it triggered the Haitian earthquake.
No. One earthquake doesn't necessarily trigger another, and that first earthquake was all the way in Alaska, so it would not affect us here in Jamaica or in Haiti, anywhere in the Caribbean.
All right, thank you so much. So here we have another question by Dudley Williams asking, how well can we forecast or predict an earthquake event?
All right, I'll probably take this one. Right now, we cannot forecast or predict earthquakes. This is sort of a pseudoscience, forecasting earthquakes or predicting earthquakes. However, with technology, we are moving more towards early warning systems. And hopefully over the next few years to a decade or so, we can see where we have sort of included more of the digital side of technology, or more of the modern digital technology into our monitoring and response network. So we cannot forecast or predict earthquakes, but because of studying the geology and studying sort of the site or different islands and the regional tectonics, we can understand which faults are actually moving. We can map which faults are actually active. And we can use the seismicity data to give us a bit of information on where we can actually have earthquakes occurring. But we cannot predict earthquakes as yet.
Okay, thank you so much for responding to that question. All right, so here we have Oreen asking, are aftershocks also ruptures at fault lines, or are they oscillations from the original rupture?
Okay, Colleen Black here. I'll take that one. When you have an earthquake, it's going to, when the movement occurs, it's going to destabilize parts of the fault before that movement as well as behind that movement. So you're going to have an imbalance in the stresses. So when you have an earthquake, so the Haiti earthquake we would call the main shock, you have this imbalance set up, but all of the movement was not complete. So you still have little bits going on, and that's what you feel as the aftershock. So it's still the same general area of the fault that is moving, but it's due to the original movement. So it might have moved, say, 2 centimeters, but by moving 2 centimeters, you cause instability in other areas of the fault plane. The movement was not complete, and so all these other areas along the fault plane start moving. Does that explain it?
Yes, I think that accurately explains it, and I hope, it answered Orion's question. There are a lot of questions coming in. Oh, and also, be mindful that you can raise your hands, turn on, to be acknowledged, so you can turn on your microphone or even your camera if you want to ask a question. Here we have Tony Shea saying that she would want to work in the field, but she is scared of anything earthquake related. I mean, definitely understandable. Here we have Bustamante saying, are the components inside the equipment, like the accelerometer detectors, or the devices themselves, do they need to be replaced often? If so, is it because of damage sustained from repeated exposure to vibrations, or simply because of components becoming obsolete or deteriorated over time? Whew, that's a long one.
Well, the equipment, they are affected by lightning, and the stations are installed at high elevation in order to get the signal transmitted, which make them exposed to lightning damage. So that's the main culprit in terms of damaging equipment where we have to replace them on a regular basis. But once stations are installed properly, they will last for a long time. And the main culprit is lightning, and there are instances where the equipment are vandalized. And we also suffer from people stealing equipment, even though they don't have any use for some of those equipment. So those are the main reasons why the equipment would need to be replaced on a regular basis.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Williams. We have another question by Nadria. She's asking, what is the difference between the magnitude and intensity of an earthquake?
Would be okay, Raymond.
Right. I can take that one. Simply, the magnitude has to do with how large the earthquake is in terms of the size of the earthquake, and that is produced. That kind of information actually comes from the equipment itself, right? Directly from the equipment. Intensity, on the other hand, has to do with what you and I experience or feel, and that is relative to a number of things. It's relative to how near you were to the epicenter. It's relative to what kind of soil type or what kind of rock you're actually standing on at the time of the event. And of course, what it means is that you can have more than one value, or you can have many values, or you can have different levels of intensity for a single earthquake. So you could have an Haitian earthquake, we said the magnitude is 7.2 or 7.3. However, the intensity values would vary based on where you are. So you could have intensity 1, I didn't feel it at all. Intensity 3, in my location was vibrating. Intensity 9, I had destruction where I was located. So that's how that's how we look at those.
All right. Oh, go ahead.
That's it.
Oh, that's it. All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Stewart. Here we have Naja asking again, what is the safest type of structure that can withstand the effects of an earthquake?
A wooden structure would be the safest structure. If the structure is built properly, like cement building, if the foundation is deep, then it can withstand a strong earthquake, in that if you over-design, because you can over-design by using, you're tying your building together. So you have a deep foundation, you have horizontal steel bars, you tie the corner together, so the entire building moves together. So you can have a large earthquake with minor damage. So the safest structure would be a wooden building, but if a brick building is built properly with the right rebar and it's tied together properly, then it can withstand a strong earthquake.
All right, thank you, Mr. Williams. So since we're talking about materials, we saw how catastrophic the Haitian earthquake was recently. We saw a lot of buildings crumbling. So what could you say in regards to material, cause it to be so bad?
From what I observed, I didn't see much steel in some of the structures that toppled over. And you could see that some of the foundations were not as deep as they were supposed to. And I think those are the major cause of the damage. Not using steel, not using enough cement, the quality. So those buildings were not built properly.
As well as an enforced building code for the country. That's also important.
All right, thank you, Mr. Williams and Mr. Tanku. All right, we have another question. Shane is apologizing, for being late and is asking what causes earthquakes.
Okay, Shane. Well, an earthquake is caused by rupture along fault lines. And this rupture is actually stresses that build up because I don't know if you all remember your tectonics, where you have tectonic plates. So the plate boundaries can be considered as fault lines. And as the plates try to move past each other, there is a lot of friction to be overcome. And so as the faults try to overcome this friction, you get the stress buildup and then there's a sudden release. This sudden release gives off a lot of energy. Most of it is vibrational, and that's what we feel as earthquake waves. But for additional information, there's also a lot of heat that is generated. And this heat is enough to reseal the faults so you don't get the seawater disappearing there. Okay?
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Miss Black. All right, so Peter Nelson is asking, are there secondary vibrations when you have an earthquake event? And if so, how do you deconvolute such effects? Anybody? All right.
Okay, they have a strong earthquake. You'll have, if it's a close earthquake that's near to you, you will have primary, secondary, and maybe a surface wave close enough where you'll observe basically one vibration. If it's a larger earthquake at some distance away, you can experience your primary wave giving you an intense shaking. Then you'll have your surface wave coming some time after. So you can have secondary effect from the same earthquake, and also there might be aftershock, not to maybe seconds after the main shock. So it's possible to have secondary effect from the same earthquake or from the main earthquake and an aftershock coming in maybe seconds after.
Okay, thank you. So the last question I see in the chat is from Asheni. And this person is asking, does the earth open when there's an earthquake?
The short answer, Shane, is no. No, the earth doesn't open. We're on a geode, so it's a sphere with bumps. And so it's the plates are just sliding past each other. In instances where you might think the earth has opened, it's really the faults shifting vertically or if it's soil, if it's a soil type of rock type, you might have what we call lateral spreading. So you could have portions of the soil falling into a body of water, whether it's the river or the sea. And then as that portion of the soil disappears, the soil behind it has a horizontal area to spread out, and then you will get cracks in the rock, in the soil. But the earth doesn't open up per se.
Okay, thank you so much. All right, so remember I mentioned the prize giveaways. So now it is time for those 2 questions that will be presented. And please remember that the first, oh, we have another question, hold on. Tariq is asking, so what happened in Port Royal?
Tariq, you're absolutely right. That is what happened in Port Royal. Plus, it would have been, the problem would have been compounded by a small scale or localized tsunami. So you would have had liquefaction, you're getting the lateral spreading occurring, and you heard about a man falling into a crack and all of that. But at the same time, you had a tsunami coming, and that's how Port Royal lost a lot of its landmass. A lot of it was washed away and sunk in the sea.
All right, thank you. I hope that answered Tariq's question. So back to the prize giveaway, everybody. So we're going to have those 2 questions, and the winners will be chosen from, who first types the answers in the chat. So now I'm going to open up the floor and allow our panelists to ask those questions.
Okay, we have the first question here. Can someone name the 2 types of sensors, or name 2 types of sensors that we use to monitor earthquakes?
Let's see who is going to win a nice Yui cup. All right, so we have Orlando saying horizontal and vertical sensors. Is that accepted?
No.
No?
No.
No. All right, we have Orion saying vertical and horizontal accelerometers. Is that accepted?
No.
No. All right, so we have Tariq saying small component sensor. That's just one. So is he on the right track? No.
This one correct. No, short period.
All right, so here we have Orlando trying again, and he's saying short period sensors and small component sensors.
Make it a short period.
No.
No. All right, so we have Abigail trying, and she's saying velocity and displacement sensors.
Yeah, she's correct, but I was more thinking the name of the sensors.
All right, so we have 2.
She's right.
She's right. Okay, we actually had 2 more answers. So I was hoping maybe if the person had it right. We have Orlando trying again. He said GPS and horizontal small component sensor. And here we have Bustamante saying broadband and motion sensors.
Well, the GPS and the horizontal small component sensor, that is almost right.
Almost.
Broadband, no, well, velocity and displacement, but no, that's not right.
Are we giving too much time for Googling, team? Or are we gonna hold this prize? Because
I think so.
for the next one, each person can only try once. And it's a time thing because the Googling is coming in, you see.
Yes, I agree. It's obvious. All right. So, well, you know, better luck next time. All right, time for the second question. Get ready, everybody. Go ahead, panelists.
Okay, our second question
Oh,
is,
hold on. They're asking for the answer though.
Oh, sorry. What is the answer?
Seismometer and accelerometer.
All right. Well, now you guys know the Googling was wrong. But all right.
We're half right, but not the answer we were looking for.
Okay. All right. So next question, please.
okay, our next question is, how many aftershocks were recorded by the earthquake unit central recording station after the Haiti's earthquake
Wow.
on the 14th of August this year?
All right. So we
Here's
have,
an example of.
everybody's saying 40. But the first person who answered is Tony Shea, and she said 40.
Yes, we all accept that.
All right. So Tony Shea, congratulations. You won yourself a UE cup. You know, please message. Yes, you can message me or Dr. Singh Wilmot, you know, so we can organize how you're going to get your prize. All right. So now that we're finished with all the question and answer, now I'll be asking Miss Colleen Parks, a representative from the Natural History Museum, to come speak to us about what they have on earthquakes in Jamaica.
Hi, hold on. I think I'm having some issues, but good afternoon, guys. Are you guys hearing me clearly?
Yes, we are. Good afternoon.
Okay. All right, so I have something prepared for you guys today, and just want to share it. But let me. I do hope that I see that you guys are having a wonderful time here, and thumbs up to the presenters for today. Your presentation was very informative and we did enjoy it. I can speak for myself and the participants today. So are you guys seeing my screen?
Yes, we are, Karen.
Okay, then. All right, so I prepared, as I said, a short video for you guys just to inform you guys of what natural history is about and the information that you guys can get from us, and in regards to earthquake as well and overall information. All right, so I do hope that you guys will find this video very effective and let me know if you're hearing.
Hey guys, I'm Colleen Parks, the Assistant Education Outreach Officer at the Natural History Museum of Jamaica. And the Natural History Museum of Jamaica is the oldest division of the Institute of Jamaica. It was established in 1879. The museum's mandate is to advance scientific research and education by collecting, storing, and maintaining specimens of Jamaica's plants and animals. The division consists of several departments. The Zoology Department that manages a collection of several faunal groups. The collection comprises of 110,000 specimens of animals with groups of insects, mollusks, reptiles, amphibians, and birds. The collections are used by local and international researchers and also supports the division's educational activities by providing specimens for display to the general public. The Botany Department that manages the largest herbarium in the English-speaking Caribbean region. The herbarium has a collection of over 130,000 specimens of flowering plants, algae, fungi, lichens, mosses, and ferns. The department's main objective is the preservation and management of the collection. We also have the Science Library that is located within the Natural History Museum. It is mandated to stimulate one's interest in science. The Science Library houses a reference collection of over 10,000 titles, including rare publications on Jamaica's flora and fauna. There are also drawings, paintings, maps, audiovisual materials that are present here in our collections. So if you guys are interested in research and any scientific research at that, you guys can visit our science library here to get information, or you can speak with our professionals and they can assist you in areas required. We also have the Jamaica Clearinghouse mechanism. That's an internal network that gathers information and distributes it on biological diversity in support of the United Nations Convention on Biological Diversity. Their main objective includes managing databases of publications, invasive species, and directory of environmental entities, facilitating software such as GIS, and providing public education and outreach services. Finally, we have the Education and Outreach Department, which conducts public awareness activities aimed at increasing knowledge on Jamaica's biodiversity, natural resources, and scientific development. The department also has access to the Institute of Jamaica's mobile museum that on request is mounted at events to showcase earthquake awareness information to the public. Jamaica is known to have had several major earthquakes that caused devastation on the island in past years. The earthquake of June 7, 1692 was the most devastating earthquake in Jamaica's history. Another earthquake that caused extensive damage island-wide took place on January 14, 1907. And this earthquake had an impact on the downtown Kingston area. And you guys can see an image right now showing Harbor Street in Kingston and the impact that the earthquake had on the area. Through our mobile museum, persons should be able to garner information about Jamaica's earthquake history. As I said before, these are two main earthquakes that occur in Jamaica, and you guys can get information from our mobile museum. If you guys are interested in our mobile museum coming to you, you guys can write a written request. That is after the pandemic, or when we get the pandemic under control, you guys can just send us a written invitation, and we will start our communications from there. All right, so I do hope that you guys learn something new about the Natural History Museum of Jamaica. And if you guys have never heard about the Natural History Museum of Jamaica, now you have heard about it and you know what we do and all the information that you guys can get from us. And I really do hope that you guys will utilize all of what you have learned today and just continue to support us in any way that you can. All right, have a good day, guys.
All right, guys, if you would like to contact
Hey
us,
guys,
you're
I'm
hearing
Colleen
me?
Black, the Assistant Education Outreach Officer at
You guys hearing me?
Yes, we're hearing you.
Okay, so if you guys would like to contact us at the Institute of Jamaica, you guys can contact us at 922-0620, and we are located at 10 to 16 East Street, downtown Kingston. I can leave the address along with the phone number in the chat. Thanks, guys. And I do hope that you guys enjoyed the video and learned something about natural history and what we do.
All right, thank you so much, Miss Colleen Parks. We're very grateful that you took the time out to make that lovely presentation for us. Thank you. All right, now, just before the closing remarks, I want to emphasize that the Faculty of Science and Technology at the University of the West Indies is the go-to place for all science knowledge and exciting research and solutions. I mean, after all, this is the Faculty of Greatness. The faculty offers diplomas, Bachelor of Science degrees, graduate certificates, graduate diplomas, Master of Science, Master of Philosophy, and Doctor of Philosophy degrees. All these riveting programs are in a wide range of intriguing fields, which include, hold on a minute. Give me a minute. All right, so all these riveting programs are in a wide range of intriguing fields, which include physics, mathematics, biochemistry, biotechnology, life sciences, chemistry, computer science, and of course, we have to leave the best for last, geography and geology. So come join the Faculty of Greatness. I look forward to seeing all of you here, especially our high school students that we have tuning in. And remember to check out our YouTube page. And please be reminded that this is most definitely not the end of the Stimulus Science in Action series. We'll be seeing you all during midterm, where we will present more cutting edge episodes. And I mean, with all that being said, the Faculty of Science and the Faculty of Science and Technology is the Faculty of Greatness. And now we will have the vote of thanks. So I must apologize on behalf of my co-host, and I will be presenting the vote of thanks for her. All right. Oh, you're going to present Nadia? All right, go ahead.
Okay, so I do want to firstly apologize for not turning on my camera. The internet is not permitting me to do so now. So we do have a lot of persons to thank, as a lot of persons.
All right, so we seem to have lost Nadia. We apologize to all these technical difficulties because, as you know, we're having some very bad weather. So I'll go ahead and read what she had prepared for us. So we have a lot of people to thank today, as there are a lot of people needed to make this series a success. We would like to extend our deepest and most sincere gratitude to the scientists who are in action today, namely Mr. Mitchell, Miss Colleen Black, Mr. Paul Williams, Mr. Raymond Stewart, and Mr. Kevin Tankoon. Thank you to my lovely co-host, Nadia Robinson, for participating, even though she's having some network difficulties. And of course, we'd love to thank our wonderful audience. Thank you for taking the time out to come and support Stimulus Science in Action series and just expressing your interest in what we have to show you guys today. So, all right. So to Mrs. Terry-Ann Collins-Frey from the Faculty of Science and Technology, we would like to thank you for your role in the planning and execution of this series. Many, many thanks to the Dean of the Faculty, Professor Michael Taylor. Professor Michael Taylor, and all members of the faculty who helped to endorse this series. Thank you, Miss Claudia Lewis, for providing all the beautiful flyers that were used to advertise this series, and to Omar for our technical support. Dr. Francine Taylor Campbell from the Ministry of Education, and all the teachers who helped to advertise in our high schools. All right, finally, we would love to thank the amazing Dr. Marva Dean Singh Wilmot for conceiving and organizing this event. who ensured that each series was a complete success and excellently executed. So now we're going to kindly remind everyone just before you go to fill out the survey and, let us know which scientists that you would want to see in other series of Stimulus Science in Action. Thank you a million to everyone once more, and stay safe. And like I love to say in my department, be mindful that innovation is limitless, success is boundless, and excellence is sorely attainable. All right, thank you so much, everybody, and be safe. We look forward to seeing you guys in our next series.
Thank you so much, Nikelia. Everybody, please join me in congratulating these two outstanding young women who remind us that the future of Jamaica is in good hands. It has been a challenging day, from the weather to the technical difficulties, and Nadria and Nikelia who championed, and the flexibility and the ability to adapt. These are the things we need to succeed. And it seems to me, ladies and gentlemen, that these young ladies are ready. So we want to give them a round of applause, and we really do want to thank you for coming. Please remember that the other two episodes in this series are available for you to view if you missed them or you want to watch them over and over again on our YouTube channel. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and tune in for much more from the Faculty of Greatness. Once again, thank you, everybody, and be safe. Okay, team, that was great. I think.
Now, can you hold on to that person's in the room?
Oh, okay. Nikelia, you're seeing the thank yous that are coming through here.
Yes, miss, I'm seeing them.
You guys
enjoyed.
You were wonderful. It was a difficult afternoon, but we are still getting applause coming in for you, my dear. And Nadria is still with us.
I was so nervous.
Dr. Nelson is telling you here, very good seminar.
Thank you, Dr. Nelson.
And we have Samoya telling you, thank you for hosting these 3 sessions. They were informative and much appreciated. Tashika is saying, thank you for the informative session. Janelle, you are most welcome. Thank you all for an informative presentation. Thank you again and goodbye, says Gary. Thank you, and the same to you, Nikelia and Nadria. Thank you, Janelle. It was a pleasure to have you.
Okay, Doc, can go ahead and dialogue.
Thanks, Terry. Okay, so who's left with us? It's only, let's see who is with us.
Nadria and Nikelia. Who?
Okay, the earthquake unit has left.
Right.
Okay. Young ladies, it was a challenging day, but you rallied. You rallied like you are soldiers. And I must congratulate you. You all did very well. There was no sign, Nikelia, of nervousness. Okay, you overcame. And this is what it takes to be successful in life. So at the end of the day, we are saying you have what it takes. Okay.
Thank you.
Nadria, we are going to have to take you back, Nadria, when we come over in October for the next set. in this series. We are definitely going to have you shine at that time. We will have
Thank you,
better
Miss.
weather. We do understand how it is, and this is why you know, the entire team is shining so much this afternoon, because when you are challenged, you respond. You responded very well this afternoon. Okay, you kept it
Yes,
going. And
Miss, I tried to keep the chat as interactive as possible and tried to post questions. I honestly did my best.
you did great. You did great. The chat was very interactive. What is interesting is that the young people don't want to open their microphones and talk. They prefer to text. But there were a lot of comments and questions. There was a lot of activity, wasn't there?
Yes, Miss.
Yes.
Okay, so Naja, we are hoping that you and everyone down there at Bishop Gibson coming to join us. You see the family we have here in the faculty, you know, and programs that we have, and of course, Nikalia and the other students in the Faculty of Science and Technology, ready and waiting to welcome all of you along with us staff. Okay, so I want you to be an ambassador for us down there, okay?
Indeed, Miss.
Indeed, you have had the chance to work with us, and you've had the chance to see some of what we're capable of. Please remember, Nadria and Nikalia, to be sharing the other videos and the links to our YouTube channel so that people can benefit, because all of the 3 seminars in this series, if you really take a moment and watch them, you come out not only with science knowledge, but with an appreciation and a motivation to get involved in STEM. I don't know how many of them you guys have seen, but it does connect science with solutions, all of what we've done here, and more is coming.
I'm excited. I actually enjoyed it. So
Yes, same.
Wonderful. And I hope you're feeling also proud to be students of science and to be scientists in the future. You're budding scientists. And I hope you see the possibilities and feel the excitement. Okay?
Yes, Miss, indeed.
yes, Miss. Yes.
Yes. No, normally. So you guys we will speak of Terry still recording, I think. So, or is it me? We will speak.
We'll edit, so that's fine.
Okay. So yeah, guys, we will talk a little bit later on. You know, we can talk a little bit.